and welcome to Radio Works World with me, Cheryl Chapman, and with the lovely Marina Nanny. So over to you, Marina, for you to say hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Wow, you are here to be wow. And for you to be here is not only a privilege, but it's a chance to get contaminated with the bug for success. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you very much, Manny. So, yes, we're here today because I'd like to talk to you about how to find your why to become freaking awesome. So, as I said, my name's Cheryl Chapman. I am regarded as the #1 speaker coach in the world, productive speaker coach in the world, because I've coached and mentored thousands of people around the world, helping them to get their message out. And also, I'm the creator of the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge, and also the law of action, because I believe that you need to take action to be able to get traction, which means that you can then ultimately get what you want in life. I originally wrote the book Find Your Why because, well, very simply, I feel that I have an affinity with women of a certain age, shall we say. So Find Your Why is all about looking at how to handle going through changes. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Do you mean this is going to be a radio program about going through the change? Well, yes and no. For men, if they go through the change, and this is a huge generalization, I know, but bear with me for a minute. Men typically are personified as going through the change when they want to buy a fast sports car. They start going to the gym to try and look younger, and sometimes even go and get themselves a younger wife. However, for women, completely different. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't any women that go out and buy a sports car or go to the gym and try and find a toy boy, by the way, because on some days that can sound quite attractive. However, for most of us, I believe that because we are different from men, and anyone who's ever read Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus will know about that, or anyone who's actually in a relationship will definitely know that. It's like speaking to somebody of a different planet, isn't it? For women, I think it's different, and I've realised that there are 3 areas in your life that can put you into this change mode. One is if you have experienced a death in the family, usually a close relative, so maybe a parent or maybe a friend, and of course that happens generally when you're getting a little bit older. Second D is if you're going through a divorce, and that could be, of course, because your husband's gone off with a younger model, who knows? And there are different changes happening in your life there. And then the third one is desertion. And what I mean by that is perhaps your children have grown up and they've gone to university, so your role as, in the family has changed. Or maybe the desertion is that something's changed in your career. So maybe you've been informed of a redundancy or some changes within work. And I believe that fundamentally these 3 Ds then send you into the change mode, as in, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am anymore, and I don't know what to do. And you're kind of like, perhaps you felt this where you feel like, I don't know who I am anymore and what I'm here to do. So what I find with the wise women, which is what I call my community, W.O.R.K.S, is that they come to myself and Marion Bevington, who I work with in the lounge, because they're looking for some support. They're looking for some clarification. And most time they're looking for a bit more confidence, which is really strange because the women that come to me are usually very strong, i.e., they're the person that everybody else goes to when they've got a problem. Does that make sense? And maybe this resonates with you, because it certainly resonated with me. So the question is, if you're the strong person who's keeping everybody together at work, at home, what happens when you're not feeling 100%? What happens when you're feeling a bit jaded? What happens when this change happens in your life? Well, the truth is 2 things, actually. 1, you don't need to figure it out on your own. And 2, you don't have to do it alone, because it's a bit like when someone does die, you kind of go through all those emotions. And anyone who's ever lost anybody will know that feeling of despair, sadness, anger, frustration. You blame the person who's died. You blame you. Why didn't you do this? And you feel, I know when I've lost people, you feel like you're the only person in the world that's going through that. However, it is emotional roller coaster. And you may feel different things compared to other people, but it is a cycle that you need to work through. And I believe that's the same when a change happens in your life. So I think so many of us, and I wrote about this in Find Your Why, if you are in the X generation or Generation X, I'm not quite sure which way to say that, you will find that you are potentially of the age when you grew up in the 80s with big shoulder pads. Don't know if any of you remember Dallas or South Fork. Do you remember that, Marina? You know,
absolutely.
Big shoulder pads. And so there's these women, you know, fabulous Alexis Carrington with her big hair and her big shoulder pads, who basically, you know, we turned into the men that we should have married. and often when people talk to me about how I felt in the 80s, well, looking back now, I look like a transvestite, to be honest, because like I had the lipstick and I had the power, but the way I would talk, you know, was quite aggressive and a bit assertive and not in keeping with the feminine self, really. And I still have traits of that, I know, because I can be quite warrior when I want to call people to action, because I know that sometimes people just need a push. So yeah, so basically it's around about change, and to find your why means that you are able to get away from those feelings of, what am I doing here? Or maybe you're thinking, you know, is this all there is to life? Possibly you're thinking, well, what about me? And where do I go from here now that these changes are happening? And maybe you're thinking, well, I know I need to regenerate. I know I need to do something else. I know I need to change, but how the heck do I do it? So when you find your why, you're able to be in a place where you now know what the reason for getting out of bed is. And that's, you know, for some people is just to have a wee on some days, because like it's kind of like a physiological reason rather than an emotional one. But when you find your why, you know what you're here for, why you're doing it, who you want to serve. And that means that when you're getting up in the morning, you are full of the energy to go, do you know what? This is what I'm doing today, and this is why I'm doing it. So even when like tough times turn up, you just go, hang on a minute, let me just remind myself why I'm doing this. And what's going to happen if I don't do this today? Well, that might affect other people, or it may affect me. So finding your why gives you that purpose, that clarity, that confidence. And if you can find a community to work with where other people have got the same kind of purpose, not the same purpose as yours, but the same intention to make a difference in their life or to make a difference in the world, then you can be energized by them. And Marina, you're a really good example of this, because, you know, your energy, your determination from the day that I first, you know, met you and laid eyes on you, if you like, I felt that energy. Does that make sense, Marina?
Yes, because I felt yours. I don't know. It's I never always stayed with me, Cheryl. You know, when I came to you and I said, I think you just changed my mind about who I am, yeah. And you said good.
Yeah, good.
So you know that good become great, and I relate to your story myself, because after. I retired very early because I could and because I had no choice. I was 51 years old and now I'm almost 55 years young. And that's telling you everything. So what happens in between. But I was through a phase where nobody needed me anymore. So I had everything I always worked for. I earned my way in life. I had everything to celebrate. And I had no life left in me. I couldn't walk. I was almost like on a deathbed, because my children couldn't understand what was wrong with me, but I couldn't stand up. I tried and I fall flat, and everybody was thinking that I don't have left too much, and with no apparent reason. So I should be in a place at that moment in time when I could celebrate. I had everything I ever wanted, and not only on an earthy way, you know, transactional way that I have a beautiful place and everything else, but wonderful children, you know, they turn into these amazing human beings, and that's all I wanted. And yet I felt that I have no reason to live anymore. You see, I felt like an old, because you remember when we have this Kodak, you had to take the actual film to a dark room. So this is exactly what happened to me. So I went to the dark room, and it was really dark. Oh my God, it was really dark. And I had to develop my true colors all by myself. And of course, I had great people to inspire me, like yourself, like other people we both know. And I learned so much from their own legacy, because the key to your free this, I think, is definition, and it's high definition. And it's your legacy, the high definition of learning who you are, understanding your true colors, being aware that it's up to you what colors you choose each day. Each day is like a blank canvas. And going through the transparency process, discovering your authentic self, and keeping yourself accountable, and taking responsibility for your gift, your new self. They're all things that cannot happen outside a community. You really need to be part of a great people, of group of people. And it's like, this is what we are doing at Radio W.O.R.K.S, actually. And we are planting the seeds of greatness, and we are, together we travel far, and we get our hands dirty. We twist an arm or two, because people don't know what is available out there. Our listeners think that, oh my God, look at Cheryl, and they absolutely love you, and they would like to be you, but they don't understand they could be themselves. And this is what you teach. This is what you give them. You give the bag for success. You do whatever it takes to wake them up and understand that it's their time now or never. It's never a better time than now. Over to you, Cheryl.
It is, yes, and thank you for that, because that's absolutely right. Because you see, what happened to me was, if you'd have been with me back in 2013 in November, you'd have found me lying on my back in the middle of a room in Angel Islington in London. And it's been over 40 minutes, and I can hear my stomach's rumbling. And leaning over me, there's this lady, and she's wearing like red and orange and flowing robes. And as I'm looking around, I can see her fiddling with her papers and a workbook. And her room is like, it's like a room full of clutter for me, because I don't like clutter, but she's got a hammock and hand-drawn etchings on the walls and books everywhere and trinkets everywhere. Like she's almost like the female version of Indiana Jones, if you like, because she's kind of like looking for ancient truths. But she's got a Liverpool accent. So when she starts speaking, it's like Cilla Black's walked in the room. And she's like, okay, Cheryl, put your hands up and do this. Oh, yeah, all right, all right. And I'm thinking, what on earth is she doing here? But, she's a friend. So I thought I'd give her a helping hand. So I'm watching this hippie frock, and then she's dropping stuff on the floor, and her glasses are falling to the end of her nose. And I'm thinking, oh, bless her. She hasn't got a clue. And then she said to me something that completely changed my life. So basically she said, okay, Cheryl, with the information that I've got, I think either you've got to watch the energy you give to others. And at this stage, I've got to be honest with you, I'm thinking this is a crock of shit, to be honest. And then she said, or you've got to be careful. And in that moment, honestly, within me, there was this kind of voice that was like, oh my gosh, they found out. What are you going to do? Oh my gosh, this is scary. No. And I started to cry. And I'd been that Alexis Carrington, that strong woman that didn't ever let any emotions out. And I didn't even know why I was crying. Anyway, after a long kind of, period of about maybe 10, 15 minutes, Marion, because that's who the lady I was with, Marion Bevington, she started to talk to me about what potentially could have happened to me as a child. And what turned out was that when I was 5 years old, I was given a key around my neck. We lived in army quarters, but my parents were both working. And so I used to let myself into the house when I was 5 years old. And I would make cups of tea and toast, and I'd have ice cream, and I'd run around everywhere. I was like a really free child, very independent, until it got a bit dark, and then I'd get a little bit scared. Now, the reality of it is I was probably only on my own for about an hour. But obviously at 5 years old, that was probably a bit scary. But my mum used to say to me, look, I need you to do this, be careful, don't let anybody in, you're going to be okay, Mummy will be home soon. But that stayed with me up until that event in 2013, when I was 48 years old. And looking back now, it was those words that my mother said to me when I was a child that were designed to keep me safe that actually held me back for the rest of my life. Because if there was a promotion at work, I would be like, oh, I've got to be careful. What do you think people might say? And I was very bothered about what people would say, how people would react, how I would react. And the second bit was that I would never let anybody in. So emotionally, I became a bit of a brick wall. So hence the reason why I know that I was a bit of a transvestite, in the fact that I had this masculine energy in this feminine form. So the reason why I tell you this story is that you're absolutely right, Marina, because if you are trying to figure out how to move forward on your own, it's really difficult. Because in order to find your why to become freaking awesome, and I believe everybody's freaking awesome anyway in their own way, but for you to recognize it, there's 3 things that you need to have. And the first one is exactly what you were talking about, Marina, which is you've got to have an awareness of who you are right now, right here, what has happened in your life that has brought you to this place. And also recognize that what you're doing right now may well not be serving you. So when you said, looking at outward, looking from the outside, looking at you, Marina, everyone would have been like, oh my gosh, you've got everything, oh, I can't believe you can retire and you can do this. You've got all this brilliant stuff going on. But inside you felt empty. So you had to get to that place where you realized that you were empty. You had to go somewhere to, that dark place to find that out. And some people never come out of that. Or some people actually never realize that that is where they are, and they just carry on through their life until they die. And that's a real shame, because I believe that we all have the ability to be able to grow into something magnificent. Because what are we doing here? Let's just look at the odds of us being here, one, talking to each other, Marina, and the listeners listening. There's an infinite percentage that we shouldn't even be here. Does that make sense? Because
total sense, yes.
I mean, I always say this, and I want you to bear with me, and your listeners to bear with me, because this is a bit where most people start to cringe a little bit. Because think about it, your parents had to have sex. Now that's bad enough in its own right, I know. So your dad's sperm had to meet the egg that created you. But in order for them to even get into that situation, their parents had to meet, and their parents before the world had to be created. We could get really, like top level, kind of universe stuff here. But that, you think of the probability and the possibility of that happening, it is like the odds are against it. So I genuinely believe that we are not here to tiptoe to death safely, because that's a frigging waste of energy, time, and opportunity. So I believe that when you find your why, and you know why you're here, and maybe that might be to inspire other people like you do, Marina. It might be, that you're here to, create a legacy for your family, which you're doing again with W.O.R.K.S. It's about whether or not it's about creating a community that allows other women or men to really, be the best that they can. Whatever that is for you, then, go for it. And just recently, I started to call myself the wise woman and the selfish bitch. Because I waited, I just kept waiting to try to be perfect. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to put my product out there just yet, because I think I could make it a bit better. Oh, and I think I could do this a bit better. And if I just wait till I learn a little bit more about that, then I'll be able to share something else. And when I did my original program, the very first program that Marion and I ran, because Marion and I worked together, because you don't have to do it on your own, we created the Live, Love, Laugh mentorship program. And at the end of the first session, where we talked about awareness, and we give our wise women tangible tools and techniques for them to use to help them to work out who they are and what they want, because some people don't know. And some people were in tears, and some people were like over the moon. And the people who were in tears, we guided and supported them to get to a place where they knew what they wanted to focus on. Because again, that's usually a problem. People think I'll focus on loads of things, and really you just need to focus on one. I realized that I'd been selfish, because the focus had been on me trying to be all bloody perfect and get everything right and not offend anybody and all the rest of it. And actually the selfishness was because if I'd actually got out there and put this program into the world 18 months ago, how many more women, men could I have helped? So I was being selfish. So
absolutely, Cheryl, because you see, this is my point. So yes, I'm here to broadcast your passion, and I don't care about anything else. That's my only focus. And I don't care if you want it or not, because my mission, this is a job, it's a full-time job, but it's a divine job. That's why I don't get tired, is to show you the keys. But the keys are you, within you. You are the key. You are the key to whatever you want. And there's nothing else. That's the big secret. It's you. You are the best kept secret.
Yeah.
And
nobody knows you like
we are here, yes, and we are here. I'm not here for myself. You are not here for yourself. We are here for the listeners who need you. And as long as you hold yourself back, as long as you hold your story back, as long as you try to build that perfect moment while you are dismissing the awesomeness of this moment and take this moment and make it perfect, who is going to suffer? You are not going to suffer. It's not going to affect you. You already know who you are. You already you are a global world-class entrepreneur. You sell all over the world. You help people. But the person who needs you the most is never going to have another chance. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them, for the listener out there, to become the opportunity using your script.
Yes.
You know, because they need to change the narrative. Using your formula, whatever it is, it's for them. And you're being given this. You've been holding back for so long, and that's very selfish, Eric. I so agree with you. And I feel the same, and now I feel this urgency to go knock on everybody's mind and say, wake up, wake up. Your time is now. Over to you, Cheryl.
It is. And sometimes, you know, I don't have any children. I've got a nephew and I've got a sister who was 16 years younger than me. And I know that there's a danger of sounding like, you know, like you're like a parent, you know, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. But it is because, you know, we came to it a little bit later on in life, you know, by the time you know, I'm in my 50s now as well. And it is just, look, it is very simple. There's a formula. It's like a recipe. You know, if you want to make a great chocolate cake, if I've got a great recipe, give it a go. Now, would you get it right first time? Probably not. But guess what? If you give up, then that'll be the end of it. So if you...
No, come on, tell me, what chocolate is left behind? Come on. Yes. Somebody is going to eat that cake. Somebody is going to eat that chocolate. That's for sure.
It might not look pretty and it might not look exactly like the picture in the book, but you've still created something. So the idea then is like, but if you keep going and you keep going, if you give up, you're going to end up with the chocolate cake, fair dues, and you're going to go, oh, that didn't work out so well. But if you keep practicing, you keep putting it into practice, then you'll find along the way, some people will give you some advice. Oh, if you put this in, that makes it taste even better. And before you know it, you've created something that nobody else has ever created. It's totally unique, you know, from your perspective, but then you can start to help other people. So you got to get in action. You can't sit in your bedroom or your office or the car expecting to get to where you want to go if you don't turn the engine on. You know,
from the other side. So now you created the cake, yes? Coming back to chocolate because I love you so much. And are you going to eat it all? Come on. Are you kidding me? You have to share everything. Share. You are making the cake. Tell us where the whatever is coming from, who made it, who gave it to you, and share everything. And give me a slice. Come on, let me have that experience. You know, it's so important to offer and share the experience you are going through. Yeah, because it's not about something you can necessarily touch and say, oh, I done this. It's about, okay, have some. See how do you feel inside, you know? Yeah. How is chocolate going to make you? Come on, over to you, Cheryl.
We're getting all giddy on chocolate now, aren't we?
I'm done. I'm
like, if my health coach is listening to this, she's going to be going, what the hell is going on? She'll be like, oh, hang on a minute, we're talking about chocolate. No, I hope
metaphor. And I'm available to chocolate always.
Exactly. So what she's talking about here is she's talking about, you know, chocolate being like fabulous and energized. See how the energy's gone up the minute we start talking about sharing as well. So once you've got awareness and you know who you are, what you don't have, what you need, you know, where you can get support, you can then set your intention. And then, of course, you can start to manifest, or as I say, move your ass. So that's awareness, intention, and manifest. So you know, with my program, you aim for your why. So the aim, the awareness really can come from internally, as it did with you, or externally when people are looking at you, looking at you and giving you advice. The intention is more than just a goal. But you're right, the intention in the case of the chocolate cake, if we keep that going, is to share, is to show other people, is to help other people, support, whatever it is for you. But I suppose really, and this is a little bit of a we kind of come from chocolate to death, but if you knew that you were going to die in 6 months' time, what would you do with your life? I mean, what would you do with your life if you knew when you were going to die? And I believe that the problem that we have is that we actually don't know when we're going to die. So we keep thinking that it's going to carry on, and we'll do it tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And as we know, tomorrow doesn't exist. You can only exist in the now. You can only exist today. Do what you can do today. Be the best that you can do today. Get around people who are positive minded, who have done what you want to do or you believe can add to your life. But also remember, nobody knows everything. So the people, the wise women that come to my community, they help me as well as me helping them. And we can then both grow and enhance our lives and other people's lives around us. So, it's just a thought. If you knew you were going to die in 6 months, what would be on your list? And if you can write down half a dozen things, tell you what, act as if you're going to die in 6 months and get into action now. Why wait? Why wait? Just get on with it, because to wait for some bad news is the wrong time. Just wake up right now and go, do you know what, today I'm going to set an intention that I am going to do one thing in the next 8 weeks, and I'm going to make sure that happens. Come hell or high water, every day, that's my focus. That's going to be my why for the next 8 weeks. It might not be your ultimate why, but once you're on the path, it's like, let's go back to that car. You set the engine off, you go down a route, and there's a diversion. So you get sent in another way. Ultimately, vaguely where you want to go. You've got the sat nav on, but the diversions come along the way. And then what happens is on the diversion, you see another place. Maybe it's a place to eat some chocolate cake, and you go, wow, I didn't even know that place existed. And then that takes you to another opportunity. And then you walk into the cafe and maybe you see somebody that you wouldn't have met, but you meet them and you go, that's interesting. And as Richard Branson says, if you are given an opportunity, say yes, and then figure out how you're going to do it later. Because these opportunities are given to us every single day of our lives. And, until you can open your eyes and become aware of what's around you, you're going to miss them. And then for me, that's a life that is so wasted. It's such a wasted opportunity. So
I just want to stop you right here because this is so important for our listeners. You heard it. Cheryl is sharing her story not because she didn't before. It's just because you never had the chance to listen in. And now you Cheryl, you are mentioning Richard Branson, which is one of my the greatest inspirations of my life, because what he did, he turned the whole industry of being in business yes. upside down. He said, you know what? Forget corporations. Is the best things in life are not things, are people. And he created his personal brand, and he is supporting at present over 400 different type of businesses within his brand. And I'm buying air tickets with Virgin and train tickets with Virgin and everything Virgin, not yeah. because of their service, because of Richard Branson, whom I love. So, and he said, if you are given the opportunity, say yes, but because you are saying yes to yourself, not to the opportunity, you become the opportunity. You are saying yes to yourself, and then the question, of course, the immediate question, the socially conditioned question popping out is how? Oh my God, how? And I'm saying, wow, I'm doing this. I'm being this person. I'm delivering this. I'm creating this, and I'm delivering this because it's value for you and because you need it. Perhaps you don't know it, but you need it, and this is going to make your life easier. This is going to remove the pain you can't afford to have anymore. And this turning the how into the wow. Actually, my students, they are not allowed. The very beginning, they it's only one rule. there are no rules. There's only one rule. You have to swallow the how, kill it for good, and turn it into the wow. So instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this," you are saying, "Wow, I'm doing this."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a radio presenter now. So it's very simply your choice to use your divine essence. Is your choice to say yes to yourself for a change. You say yes to everybody else. Why on earth would you treat yourself so badly all your life? You are saying, no, you can't do this. No, you can't allow this. No, you can't let this person in. Yes, let them in. And turn your back into your old self and start saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
Say no to everything else if you want, but
Yeah.
say yes to yourself. Over to you, Cheryl. Sorry, I'm so passionate.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. There's, I suppose in in sort of concluding our conversation today for your listeners, it's interesting because when I do my talk on stage, I start with a question, which is raise your hand if you've ever felt like you've been at a crossroads in your life. And that's really where the ladies predominantly, but I do help men as well, but the ladies predominantly that come to me, they're at this crossroads. And I say, when you're at a crossroads, you've got a choice. I mean, do you go right? Do you go left? Do you move forward? Do you turn back? But as Will Rogers, I think it was, once said, even if you're on the right path, if you stand still, you're liable to get run over. Now, the thing for me is that's very much about the how. So if we turn that into your wow now, because it's like, oh, how do I find my way? People say, oh, how do I find my way? How do I find my why? Well, the thing is, the next time you're at a crossroads, you can choose to look for the way, or you can find your why. Because when you know your why, you'll find the way. Does that make sense?
Total sense for me.
So that's what I'd like to leave you with today.
Wow.
And just be freaking awesome and continue to be freaking awesome like you are now.
I can't help it anyway, Cheryl. From both of us till next time, because I know it's going to be a next time with Cheryl. Lots of love. Be freaking awesome, as you said. And just remember, success is your birthright. There is no other way. It's just saying yes to yourself. From both of us, goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marina. Speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.